Good evening and welcome to the Kim B. Davis Show. I'm your host, Kim B. Davis, and this evening we have a special treat. We have two of our favorite guests on tonight. We have Dr. Angela Celeste May, and I've got to read all of her titles. We know her as our clinical, our organizational, and our forensically trained psychologist. She is also the president and co-founder of A.M. May and Associates Incorporated. She is also president and founder of Celeste Productions Incorporated. And we also know her as the president of the Michigan Psychological Association Foundation Board. And she's also an author. And to not be outdone, we have Mr. Eric Harp. He is our certified professional fitness trainer, guru of all things current events. And this evening, we're talking about reflection because in a few days, it will be Christmas and then it will be New Year and we will be into 2022.
You think they'll still be deliberating the Kim Potter trial?
They might be. So hold your horses, Mr. Hart. We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. Good evening, and thank you both for being on the show.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening.
So Mr. Harp has jumped the gun a little bit, but let me set the stage. So it is 2021. It's December 22nd, and we are still in COVID. We have yet another variant, Omicron. I feel like we're going to go through the whole entire alphabet and get to Zeta and then start all over with the next alphabet. We are still dealing with violence across this country in terms of school shootings, and we are still struggling trying to understand. We are dealing with economic uncertainty. We're dealing with political uncertainty and political haranguing in Washington and some of the vitriol that we've seen spill out all across social media, all across our news. And we have yet another high profile case with Officer Kim Potter, who allegedly, because she has not been convicted yet, and I'm hanging that yet with a comma to say hopefully soon that she will be convicted, pulled her gun and killed Dante Wright instead of her taser. Now, Dr. Angie, Mr. Harper and I typically talk about current events. And so, Mr. Harp, give us your take on where the trial is right now. I know that they are in deliberations. What do you think is going to be the outcome, and what do you see coming from this?
Well, the latest thing was that the jury, who's been deliberating for about 20 hours right now, which is almost a full day, they came back to the judge and asked, what do they do if they can't reach a decision? What happens if they can't reach a decision? So that's publicly letting us know that everything's up in the air. But it's a tough one here because what you think would be a slam dunk, it's not. You know, even with the video, and because the sympathy card, Kyle Rittenhouse, which was the case before, cried so hard on the stand that he pulled those sympathy strings. She cried so hard and often and pulled on these sympathy strings, and the family's tears are not heard. Nobody's hearing Dante Wright's family's tears. And so it hurts me to say that I think she's going to get off. I think, simply because they're going to say it was an accident, and though she's a well-trained officer, knows the difference of what's a taser and what's a gun, what the weight is and which one, what side. In the heat of the moment, she panicked. And and she cried and feels remorse. So I think she's going to get off.
So let me add this, because I just learned that there is another case that she was involved in that has now recently come to light. And Dr. Angie, I want to ask you a question, because as our professionally trained psychologist, what is it about tears when people cry? Because Eric Harp is exactly correct. Kyle Rittenhouse got on the stand and it seemed like, I would say, he did an Academy Award nominating performance where he brought tears. That's just my personal opinion. I don't think that he's sorry.
Tucker Carlson was there.
Right. I don't, and I'll tell you why I don't believe that he's sorry, because I've seen video of the Republican Party and other platforms parading him out, and he seems jovial. He seems happy. And I'm thinking, if you truly are remorseful that you killed 2 people and you maimed a third, I would think, me being a rational thinking person, that you would want to stay low. I don't want to be in the spotlight. I may do an interview to explain what happened, but I really don't want to, because I want people to forget about me. However, we're seeing the exact opposite.
Yeah.
So Dr. Angie, tell us about how tears, and you have worked in the criminal justice system in terms of working with people. And I don't know if you can talk about it from a strategic point of view, because I know, as a daughter of a defense attorney, oftentimes if it was considered a tactic that could be used, they would tell you, go ahead and be emotional, because you want people to see that you are remorseful, even though you may not be, but maybe your best defense to get you out of whatever it is.
Yeah. Well, my first thought when you asked the question about tears is, whose tears?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It's not like Mr. Harp said, it's not everybody's tears. It's not the family's tears. Just in terms of human nature, in that idea of empathy, assuming you're equipped with it, sociopaths and psychopaths are not necessarily, but generally speaking, if you can find, and that too is a defense strategy, anything on any level that can make people connect to you, that can be part of your defense strategy, of course, in terms of courtroom behavior. Tears, watching someone else's tears, there is kind of a biological component, that there are things that there's a term for it in psychology and biology. It has to do with, like, I think it's mirroring cells, mirroring neurons or something, but you're literally wired that when you see someone else cry, or when you see someone else engage in another kind of emotion, it's triggered, your own are triggered. So you may not be falling down crying, but it's as if your body responds as though you are experiencing those feelings, because your brain is triggered when you see it in somebody else, because you can relate to it. It's that relatable part. So that's one part of that research has shown that actually takes place. That's one part. Another thing that, you don't have to be a psychologist to know, you all know this, we do tend to lean toward the familiar, which takes us back to whose tears. So the tears can help build that link with someone with whom you already kind of maybe want to believe. Our justice system is set up that you are innocent till proven guilty. But he's young. He's not like young Scarface.
Right.
Baby face. It's like, he just stepped in and out the gang from, he just baby. He has all that the physical features that, and he's like just the perfect image of quote unquote image, innocent young man. All that's already there. Shall we say an innocent Caucasian young man? Shall we say that in our racist society? So he's got all of that, and then the tears on top of it. So, that's all part of it to try to just evoke those reactions. you know, in other people. And it can be powerful. It can be a powerful thing, especially if you already are kind of like wanting to believe X, Y, and Z about the person. I will say this though, and this is not based on anything that anyone has said. My own theory is that Chauvin, somebody somewhere may have, this is speculative, I'm not saying anyone said, may have suggested that, you know, what are the lessons that we learned, we meaning those coming behind him accused of similar kinds of things. You didn't show it, you know, if you needed to show the emotion. And we're saying that kind of, we're saying this script kind of. Now, that's not to say that none of these people have any genuine emotion. You know, you can cry very hard because you got caught. You can cry very hard because maybe, you know, it hits you when you take a life. You know, that can be.
It should.
Unfortunately, that can't. You say, yeah, it should. Exactly. It should. So some of those tears can be part of that for sure. And you know, is it for us? Not for us to say who really feels remorse and who really doesn't, but the tear thing can have like different layers. Can have different layers. Yeah.
You know, it is an interesting fact of coming on the heels of Derek Chauvin in the guilty verdict and the 3 men that killed Ahmaud Arbery and their guilty verdict. Yet we have Kyle Rittenhouse's not guilty, and we are hanging in the balance of waiting for Officer Kim Potter's verdict as well. And we know that there are so many others that are coming forward, because I can tell you every day on Twitter, there's another video that comes forward that we're seeing.
And still those we haven't seen that we'll never see. You know, that there was no camera. Absolutely. Yeah.
And so, having said all of that, this evening we're talking about reflection. And there is so much that's happening in our world. And I think it's important for people to take a moment and to take stock of where you are in your life. And Eric, Dr. Angie knows, because we talk about this a lot. I'll say, you know, divorces have increased, relationships have been stifled, have suffered under the weight of COVID. We know education, not just even with the violence that we're seeing in schools, but even with classroom management. Children don't know how to act in schools. And Mr. Harp, you're a teacher, so you know, and you can attest to it, how kids are actually behaving in class, where before COVID, you know, there was this expectation that you would come into class and you would sit and you would be still. And I know that we still have that expectation. However, COVID seems to have upended all of that. And so we have teachers who are facing burnout. We have people who are working in jobs who are like, okay, so now I'm at home. It's wonderful. I don't have to commute anywhere, but now I'm working 8 to 10 hours. I never get away from my computer because it's right there. My boss is always calling me. Where is the separation? Where is my break? So many of them are also facing burnout. It's been discussed. We're looking at a problem with our debt ceiling. You know, it has been raised. However, it's still a point of contention. Build Back Better is probably dead in the water almost, if it's not. And we're having conversations around whether or not a woman should have a right to have an abortion. We're having questions around the Voting Rights Act. And I don't know if you guys heard the latest from our former president, who said, you know, they got this Voting Rights Act out, and if this gets passed, no Republican will ever get in office.
No one will win.
And I thought, did he say that? And then on top of that, I saw Steve Bannon and some other people saying, this is why you all have to get elected to the local city clerk office and Secretary of State, so we can control how the vote goes and we can say what's fair and what's not. And I said, okay, wait a minute. What's happening? Right.
Out loud. They're saying it out loud. What they've been working on so hard, they're just blurting it out. Because it's not like they haven't been working on that.
Right. Go ahead, Mr. Hart.
No, said the little secret communications that the Congress are right now piecing together. Those little secret communications, those ways. The Steve Bannon show is the new mouthpiece. It's the new, he can say it out loud now. He's already target number one, so he considers himself the martyr. So everything can now come through him. What are they gonna do? And that's his attitude. What are they gonna do? They're not, they got me for criminal contempt, but what are they gonna do? Trump is facing all kind of New York AG, attorney generals, probe situations, and he's trying to sue them to slow it up. This is a tactic he does often. He sues the other party so that he can slow things up, and by that time, either you'll run out of money or you'll drop the lawsuit. The game, but he's opened it up for everyone else to now play their particular game. And you and I have said it on our podcast level, but now I'm watching it on the national news and they're saying the same thing. I said he's now opened it up for any and everyone. So those local, small level contestants in the city clerk's office and the registrar's office, wherever there's not even a magistrate, whatever these small little local offices who now can run things and sign documents, because it's not about the big cities anymore. We demonize the big cities. We demonize the Chicagos and the San Franciscos and the Detroits and the Atlantas because there's too much crime there. So all the rural areas who don't have mayors, they have, I forget what they're called.
County clerk.
County clerk. So they don't have the recognized offices that get the federal money that come down. What they get is their cut from the governor now, because they have larger land masses. And then one more thing, and I'm sorry I'm dominating, but one more thing in the big cities, and you can see this in the city of Detroit where we are, this redistricting, this quiet redistricting that's going around, and it's turning these neighborhoods into different voting blocks. And we don't, this is stuff that's not talked about unless you're in tune with your city's politics. Because this redistricting is going around from the governors, from the state level, but it's not communicated to the city level. And so the next time you go to vote, you find out that your polling place is in a whole nother place. And it's not convenient to get to, which that's the intention. Doesn't, it may close at 5 o'clock, which is the normal time that working people would get off work. So that won't work. They're not going to make election day a holiday.
Which they should.
Which they should. Now everybody should be off and able to vote. And please, Doctor, go ahead and I'll let you speak, because I'm sorry to dominate the time.
Oh, you're not dominating. Speak on it. That's all right. No, you're not dominating at all.
The Build Back Better plan and this Senator Manchin that has held everything up, and now the lovely public invitation of come on over to the GOP. Come on.
Somebody said Mitch McConnell is showing a little leg.
Showing some,
showing some leg. Come on over.
It's like, please come on over here. You doing all our work for us.
I I have no proof of this. I'll just say he acts like a plant.
Yes.
I'm just going to say that. That's all I'm going to say. He acts like a plant. That's all I know. And his lovely assistant, Kristen Cinema. But I will say this though, to what you were saying, Mr. Harp, about them doing it secretly, which on one hand, yes, I think you're absolutely right about being tuned in. And people talk about how we're seeing the results of not having those civics classes, those social studies, and we've gotten away from that because people talk about freedom all day long, but we forget that with a democracy like ours is supposed to be, like with a republic, that citizens have a responsibility and the elected officials do. So you're absolutely right. People are trying to feed their kids, and they're trying to, get through, like you said, Kim, the COVID and all this stuff going on. Everybody's not a news junkie like the three of us are, but there is some minimal responsibility for citizens to try to, maybe back in the day, glance over the newspaper or whatever the case. And I don't mean Facebook, because
yes,
hallelujah, that is not the news. Can we say it? Can we?
Yes, you can say it.
That is not the news. If someone posts, side note, on your social media, just see if you could just check it out. It could be the news. Let's just check it out. Please stop saying I saw somebody say it. Don't do it. So having said that, yes, I was just saying that I am seeing and hearing people nationally, locally. If I listen to a local radio, what's going on in Detroit, et cetera, people are talking about the redistricting. But to your point about, being tuned in, people have gotten tired, sick and tired. And a lot of citizens are tuning out so much. They don't have to follow every little thing. But I feel we do have some responsibility to be aware, somewhat aware. And I think it's a slippery slope. It's an easy thing to get lulled into. I hired you via the voting booth. I expect you to take care of it. And next time I check in will be the primaries or 4 years later. So especially in this day and age where you can access so much information, I feel like people, I would encourage people to, get curious, because just like you said, when you go to vote the next time and you find out that, you can't find your vote polling place or whatever.
No, the words don't dance. The words don't twerk. The words, they just stand still. Let us just stand next to each other. And people, and a lot of people don't have the tolerance for that. But
you know what I'll say? Not to interrupt you. You're exactly right. I would say that because they don't have the tolerance, it's not only because of that, of course. Folks are, like I have said for a long time, I say to Kim all the time, they've been plowing that back 40, just licking their chops. We're going to put these cannons back where they belong. They just, we just plowing them back 40 because we done got out of place. Even though that is true, folks working on that, even though it's true, part of what I'm seeing is part of the reason that we're here, only a part, is because people, well, if you can't entertain me, then I can't read a couple of boring, you need to get on top of it. If this is your republic, if you can keep it, so, I think you're absolutely right. But unfortunately, these are some of it's not all because of that, but this is some of the consequences, I would say. Because one thing we have seen, we know that with George Floyd, it sadly took a worldwide groundswell of people from, it should not have taken just all of that. It was good to see, but the man basically lynched him in the streets. Do we really need Germans to march before he gets justice? Thank goodness they did. But it's just, we've gotten lulled into this. Like you said, if it doesn't entertain me, I'm tuning out, and there are actual consequences to that.
I'm really glad you brought up the imaging of the George Floyd murder. As atrocious as it is, you could tell someone about it, and it's just as horrible. but to see it. We watched it. The Kyle Rittenhouse, we watched it. It's on video. Kim Potter, it's on video. All of these, the insurrection is on video.
Yes.
All of these things are on video, and we are so.
If this was a movie,
listen, many of us are now, even though I saw it, I still don't believe it. And what kind of thing? I'm sorry, but that's something that I don't understand. It's like, well, I remember seeing is believing. Seeing is believing. If I see it, I believe it. If I see it, I believe it. You saw it.
Yes.
He still don't believe it.
Yeah, right.
And that's something that's unexplainable. And I just don't understand. Again, I don't understand it. I don't want to keep saying I don't understand it, but we saw it. We are now desensitized to seeing it. And so if we see something, a movie couldn't have done it better. Exactly. But yet, they're still going to get off. They didn't do that. They didn't storm the Capitol. What are you talking about? Peaceful. All kind of things. And people will explain it away. And yet we saw it. So thank you for bringing the imaging out and the desensitization, and which leads me back to these kids. How do you reach them? They've seen it. But the words don't move. And they're looking at the latest TikTok video. I see a second grader doing moves from a TikTok video. And I'm like, but you can't tell me what 2 times 3 is. Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I wish I had an answer for why. It's just more questions and more questions. I'm sorry.
Well, I think I would offer that it's for many of those people who, didn't happen. For many of those people, look at them on the day that it happened, including the ones who were involved. Why was your adrenaline through the roof? Oh, it's just, you see, we just did. Oh, what's happening? Oh, you believed it when it happened, when you saw it, whether it scared you, whether you were geeked because, we about to take over. But so you believed it. But then, the mind is a powerful thing as in general, but particularly you notice how we all do this. It's human nature. We lean into what we want to believe.
Yes.
So while there's definitely stuff at work for sure, if you already want to believe, it's just like your favorite whomever, favorite sports figure, favorite whatever the case. You kind of want to believe the good news first. And then somebody has to work really hard, like, no, for real. Look, I'm going to show you. And it's like, oh man, you just got to accept it. If you already are there, then you are like, mouth open, like baby chicks ready to be spoon fed that lie. Give me some more. Tell me a way I can. But on the day of it, you bought it. You bought it. Let me strap that blood pressure cuff on you on that day. You bought it. They knew it happened. I mean, for the most part, we have our fringy, truly in the cult, just all the way down there. That's a whole other psychological paradigm right there. But generally speaking, there are a lot of these people. Who are insisting that it was a walk in the park, who, go back to that day, that's not what they were saying. But they're happy to take the narrative handed to them because of other stuff mentally at work, which is, I don't want to accept that my guy didn't make it in there. And I don't want to accept this, blah, blah. So tell me something. What can y'all tell? Is that, okay, yeah, let's take that. Yeah, that's what happened. Yeah, that's what it was. So there's a segment there. That's not everybody, but that's a big segment of that. Big segment of, people who are already primed to, believe whatever it is, whatever you're going to tell them that fits with where they are already mentally. And their motivation is a big, powerful thing too, where their motivations are. Why is it so important for you to believe that it didn't happen? Why is that? Because on that day, you were all up on the TV screen calling so-and-so.
Taking selfies and pictures.
Taking selfies. Do you see? Are you seeing this? When did you see what? You said that happened.
Well, I know one thing that they better watch out for is this new variant, this new Omicron variant.
Yes.
Because as we mark this anniversaries of all kind of things, schools shut down a year ago.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
As a teacher, I have to be prepared. You know, we're on our little winter break, holiday break, Christmas break, whatever people want to call it. But we are on this winter break and have to be prepared for not going back for the new year. So we have to be prepared for going virtual. You know, parents have to be prepared for going back to virtual. And this Joe Manchin just killed the Build Back Better, so there will be no more child tax credits.
Right.
And there will be no more, you know, no more of that kind of relief. So it's amazing how we're about to hit this new epidemic, a new phase of this pandemic. And the president has just come on live television to say this is going to be a bad winter. So for those that are unvaccinated or undervaccinated, you're going to get hit.
Yeah.
And then you got people saying, get out of here.
Yes.
And now they're favoring entertainment. The NFL, the NBA, the NHL, all hit. Teams are like bare bones on their rosters, having to go to the minor leagues in order to bring people up early in order to fill up rosters. You know, in fact, it got so bad in the NBA, they was like, listen, dude, I don't care if you unvaccinated, just play at the away games. Talk about your boy Kyrie Irving.
Exactly.
And I'm like, New York say he can't play in New York.
Right.
So he can't play at home, but the New York team said just play in the away games. Well, you know, what kind of mess is that if you're still unvaccinated?
Exactly. But this is the same type of denial that has cost Americans almost 1 million dead from COVID. And people still in 2021 saying it's a Democratic hoax. The Democrats made it up. It's a lie.
Absolutely.
It's not true. We see the video of people who get to the hospital, they are sick with COVID, and all of a sudden, can you help me? Can I get the vaccine now? There's nothing else they can do for you. All you can do is make your calls and say goodbye. And then and it's very sad, and they make these videos, y'all go get the vaccine. And we still have people who don't want to. We still have people. We've learned that masks work. We still have people running around talking about I don't want to wear a mask. Why do you want to breathe your own carbon dioxide? Spouting all kind of facts, as you said, Dr. Angie, they got on Facebook. And running around trying to play doctor, talking about, well, I saw it on Facebook, you breathing your own, and you gonna make yourself
or that, or my favorite, have not. You know, I'm all for, you know, the old folks knew what they were doing. I'll say all the time, oftentimes science is late and will, you know, catch up to what, you know, great grandma was talking about, you know, absolutely that. So it's not all that science is all, you know, but it's, you know, it has the strengths that it has, right? So my other favorite is, you know, folks with zero background, like studied nothing, read nothing. Well, you know, I feel that with all my expertise, I just feel that, you know, my immune system, I mean, at the minimum, like they didn't say, well, you know, researching stuff. And from what I just feel it. I mean, at least tell me the Lord told you, but I just,
right. God, and they didn't even say that. Well, God, the Holy Spirit.
I feel it, you know, the Holy Spirit.
I got natural immunity. I got natural immunity.
And you know what? You know what my analogy for that is?
What's
I haven't used it because it just sounds so harsh. That's like saying you have an immunity to a bullet.
Yeah.
Superman has it. I don't know. You can have the best immunity. What's it going to do with that bullet? You know what will help with when you are being operated on to remove the bullet? Thank goodness for your cardiovascular health, because you can make it through the operation, but that's not going to stop the bullet.
So I saw a doctor who did a great video on the COVID vaccine. And he said to this person who was debating him on why they did not want this vaccine, he said, well, let me ask you a question. If you were dating someone or you were going out with someone and they had gonorrhea, chlamydia, or some other
he went all the way there.
He went all the way there. He said, would you have relations with them? And they were like, well, no, that would be dumb. And so the person was like, no, that would be, I would be taking my health into my own hands. He said, well, what do you think you're doing with COVID? And
I love that.
I love it too. And they just kept arguing. And I said, that's it. I said, so anytime someone says that, I'm like, so if someone had a communicable disease, such as an STD, would you willingly have relations with someone knowing that there's a chance that you could catch it?
No protection, nothing, just
right. And most people would say, oh, absolutely not. I would not do that. I wouldn't put my health in jeopardy for that. Then why are you doing it with COVID? And as Mr. Harp said, we have another variant here. And from what I understand, there may be another variant that just popped up that may be coming too. So
we got to go through the alphabet, like you said.
I know.
Omicron pi. You know, we got to go with Omicron pi.
Yeah.
So experts. So we've talked about COVID, we've talked about racism, we've talked about politics and uncertainty and education. And, you know, Dr. Angie, you said it very well. People get tired of hearing all of these different things and you don't know what it is that you want to do. And Mr. Harp, you talked about parents possibly getting ready for going back to virtual learning and how that is such a huge lift, a heavy lift for parents. For people who are struggling, who feel overwhelmed, who are like, it's just too much. Because I know a lot of people will hear things and they'll say, you know what, I can't take anymore because it's just too much. How would you suggest to them that they reflect back on these things so that you can recharge? Because unfortunately, these issues are still going to be ever present in 2022, and they're going to ramp up. We'll have midterms coming up in 2022, so the election cycle is just kicking in, and we'll be at the halfway point for a presidential election. And I would anticipate in 2022 that we'll get some official announcements from some people who may be running. We may hear Trump say he's running, we may not. But we'll definitely hear some on the other side, some scary people probably stepping forward, like a Joe Manchin, I'm not suggesting it be him, but it will probably be somebody like him who will say some really off the wall things and we'll all be aghast and like, how do you get to run for president? However, all the things that we've said that they've said out loud, we didn't think 5 years ago that anybody would say that. We would have said, oh, people don't do that anymore. People wouldn't say that. And now they do. So I want to start with Dr. Angie and start with the mental side of reflection first. And so first, as Dr. Angie would do, define what is reflection and then talk to us about the mental side of reflection.
Well, to define it, I would say reflection is, we think of it as looking back, looking over time, looking back over history. That's often part of it. It's also to consider, to mentally think through the who, what, when, where. Who am I? What's going on? Where am I right now? All of those elements that take into account like a summary, like an accounting of life as it is, up to this moment. You can reflect back over your life. You can reflect back over, like you're saying, over this past year, whatever the case may be. Reflect back over your career, that looking back from the back to the, from the back, past to the present, and take stock of things. I would say that's like a definition of it, description of it, and that is mental work. But I also, as you know, Kim, Mr. Harp, we always, we can't have conversation about the mental without talking about the physical. We talk about the physical. I don't want to step on your area a little bit, but there's always balance. Because it's all, it's holistic, of course. So, there's always balance. I shouldn't say your area because you always talk about it. This is the most important muscle and all that. So yeah, absolutely. Right. It's all related for sure. There are ways to reflect, everybody's different and depending on why you're reflecting. Sometimes, there's a particular purpose of it. How do I move forward? What do I need to do, et cetera? I would suggest that regardless of the reasons for the reflection, balance. If you're reflecting, looking back, taking stock and all of that, and it's to your point about people feeling, overwhelmed, which, completely understandable. But if you're taking stock and it's always negative, and you're just checking off what's wrong, what did, these are real and true tragedies, who you lost and all that. I would say the healthiest approach is that's part of it because that's real. It's part of the story. It needs to be looked at, all of that. But if you're not, to me, it's not a full reflection. If you're not also balancing it with the positive parts, what have I learned? What do I need to do to go forward? What have I gained, even in the light of the loss? Things like that. What do I understand better? What muscles did I build, spiritual, mental, and physical, because I went through this thing? So, I think that I would say that that's real and true reflection, that you have to have both. And I'll just throw this last thing in there as far as, because, often, and I know it's part of the question, often you do ask, what can people do going forward? Same thing. It is a very much a compounding thing when, you're home and just everything that I've worked from home for years. So for me, it's not a stretch like that. And I enjoy working from home, but you need to step outside and get fresh air if you are able to. You need to get a little sun on your body. That's vitamin D if you are able to. You need, and that's for mental well-being. It's for endorphins, and feeling better, hormone, all that good stuff, and you move all of that, so gotta the balance of the mental and emotional reflection, as well as that physical balance, because they do kind of, your brain, for most of us, is housed in your body. So it's probably going to go wherever you go.
For most of us.
So there may be some. I don't just stop for me to say. But you need to get your body, I work out 5 days a week. I love it. Do it. My dad used to say, he was an athlete, he was a professional athlete. He was a gymnast, a swimmer, all that good stuff. He used to say, and I'm sure you say the same, find what you love to do. What do you like? There's just too many options. Find what you like to do. And so all of that. And that's again, that's for the mental, physical, all that, and the spiritual. We are whole beings. So true reflection, I would say, encompasses the balance of all of that. How to move forward. What have I learned? Look at the positives as well as the negatives. And most importantly, listen to Mr. Harp.
Absolutely. So I have to add this in. Because it's one of my favorite comedic lines. Was your head with you when you left the house? So for those that know where that came from, Mr. Harp, do you know where that came from?
Yes.
Okay.
And I also heard, well, you forget your head if it wasn't attached.
Oh yes, but that's classic. That's a classical. That's classic.
For those of you that forgot your head, Dr. Angie said, make sure that you pick it up and put it on and screw it on so that you have it with you.
Take it with you.
So now, Mr. Harp, here we go with the physical part.
Doctor, that was wonderful. And I'm gonna have to go ahead and mix a little bit of this mental and physical as well.
Absolutely.
It's all, listen, it's you can't have one without the other.
Exactly.
And as you so eloquently spoke about reflection and looking back, I'm going to talk about the other reflection, and that's looking at yourself. Like looking at yourself in the mirror and taking stock. You know, physically, we can look back at what we've done for the year 2021 and devise a plan for 2022. You know, we all have to start somewhere. Now, my advice to many people on the physical for the mental, please get off the scales. Get off the scales so much. You're gonna drive yourself crazy. As so many of the people that I work with, wondering how much weight did they lose today. And they're so worried about what they've done today that they don't have time to look back at what they've done and take stock of the days that they've put in because they're too concerned about today. And, you know, and I use it as a metaphor, you know, that there's too many people that are concerned about right now and have no idea how to look forward. As I mentioned that, you know, we just might get devastated again by this pandemic, by this disease. And I don't believe that we're ready for it. And it's not that the old cliches or the government, or I just don't believe people are ready for it. I believe that a lot of us people, I don't want to point anyone out specifically, but a lot of us have gotten laxed in thinking that we're back to normal. The new normal is wearing masks. And yet we are everywhere. We're traveling, we're everywhere that there's something going on. We're there. And the numbers are going up. The numbers are going straight up. And I think that reflection means that we need to take a look at right now. And what can we do to keep ourselves healthy? So if that means that getting these immunizations, getting these booster shots, getting our children who are age eligible, vaccinated, we need to do it. We need to do it and protect ourselves. Physically, we need to do this. And this is the only way that we can herd immunity, natural immunity. But I think that reflection on where we are right now help us get to where we need to be. Because too many of us are looking back and, oh, woe is me. Oh, woe is me. I wasn't able to get there, so I'm not going to be able to get there. Unfortunately, doctor, they don't have someone in their life like you. And I hope that they would find someone. I hope that they would I hope that they would go to Planet Fitness and, you know, start somewhere. You know, shout out to Planet Fitness. That was an accident. But
but you know, and they don't even need a psychologist. Do you have a friend, cousin, sister, somebody who will encourage you to, you know, do what you need to take care of yourself.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But I hope that people can just look back and say, you know what, 2021 was rough. How can I make it better in 2022?
Exactly.
You know, we don't have to go so far back 10 years and try to find out what the root problem or why we smoke cigarettes or why we part our hair on the left side instead of the right side. You know, we don't have to go that far back, but we can look back at 2021 and we can figure out, you know, how can we make 2022 a little bit better? You know, even if we have to go back to virtual, but we did it back in 2021. So how can we do things a little bit differently? You know, these businesses are going to have to do something different. Everybody's going to have to do something different. So let's take stock and figure it out. And thank you for your time. Doctor, I hope that mixed a little bit with yours.
Perfectly. It was just all scripted. That's what it was. Wait, let me. Yeah, that was it.
That was fantastic. Okay, so now here is the $20 million question, and I'm gonna start with Mr. Harp. What are you looking forward to in 2022, Mr. Harp?
That's a very good question.
She threw it.
I'm looking. I am looking forward to staying healthy, and right now I have a challenge of working with some young children, and hoping that these kids mature, hoping that they get something from Mr. Harp, and that I can impart a little wisdom upon them, and just wherever life takes me from there. But worldwide, I hope that we get it together. Yes. I really hope that we get it together. I hope that we can get this spending plan done. I hope we can get these child tax credits back. Hope we can get these daycares back, and I hope that women can get their reproductive rights back, because they are under assault right now, and we don't have to step backwards that way. That's what I'm looking for in 2022. Get some good people in office in this midterms.
Excellent, excellent. Dr. Angie, it's your turn.
Well, I'll start by echoing the last thing that you said about getting some good people in office, for sure. There's a couple of sides to things that go on. So we know, or we think we know about, the shenanigans. I say think because there's more where that came from. So we know about the shenanigans politically. But at the same time, I am a glass half full type person. And not just because that's my natural personality, but I have seen, let's not forget the wave that came in 2018 of all this color and all these women. And, so I say that to say, in terms of good people in office, there is also a groundswell and a passion for people who want to see the right thing in response to shenanigans, so I'm looking forward to seeing and, helping in any way that I can with, shepherding some of that in, those good people who really want to see the positive, us go forward in a positive way that's that helps everyone, all the citizens. Also, I like to look worldwide too, as well, because we've got stuff worldwide that goes on as well. So I continue to, pray for the people in Afghanistan and all of the other stuff. This is not, even though we're in the middle of the ocean by ourselves, we're not really as isolated as we are global. So, there's a relationship with that. So more good people in office here, and that will influence positivity around the world also. Personally, I'm looking forward to doing more music. I didn't get to as much music this year. I always enjoy teaching, but more music. Got some stuff so I'm looking forward to creating more music, getting back in the recording studio, and just doing more good. I'm just blessed with more opportunities to help people in the different ways I'm able to. And last thing I'll say is, I'm a new trustee of the Michigan Health Council. So I'm looking forward to that. That's an opportunity to, again, try to make some positive change in the state and support people in healthcare and stuff. So some of it, yeah.
Congratulations. That's amazing.
Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you. I'm blessed.
Yes,
wonderful,
definitely.
Wonderful. So for me, looking forward to 2022, I'm also looking forward to opportunities, but 2022 is going to be a unique year. And so for the year, I'm going to share with our viewers and our followers that it is going to be a year of discovery all about me. So lots of people know I talk about my battle with depression. I talk about being a parent. I talk about all the different things that I do. And I have learned in being reflective, I'm not the same person I was 20 years ago. So who am I? What do I like to do? What are some things that are missing? Because, you know, a lot of times when we're reflective, you know, Dr. Angie, you said we look at the negatives, but we should also be looking at the positives. And so I'm looking at the positives and I want to build on that because I know COVID's going to be here for a while. And yes, we're going to be safe. And we will continue to do some things. We won't do everything. As Mr. Harp said, you know, we're not going to be traveling everywhere and just all out and about, you know, that type of thing. But we do want to do some things to bring joy and happiness and peace to our lives. And so I want to continue that. But 2022 for me is going to be all about self-discovery. So I am excited, learning some things and embracing some things and not being apologetic about who I am or, you know, different things. Oftentimes we talk about from a mental perspective, people will give you a compliment. And Dr. Angie and I have talked about this. People will give you a compliment and you'll start to explain it away instead of saying thank you. And so one of those small things that I do, I'm just going to accept some things and just say thank you and not try to explain it away as if I need to validate something because I don't. And so I'm just sharing that, you know, that's going to be part of my journey. So Dr. Angie will be talking about that. Mr. Harp, we will be back on the fitness journey. So I'll be sharing some things with you about that as well. And just making sure. Yes, Dr. Angie.
I have to add one thing. I'll add one thing.
Yes.
I scootered several times this year.
All right.
I am so looking forward to scootering again.
Awesome.
Downtown.
Yeah. Well, my husband and I, as Kim knows, we were caregivers for my mom, who was a mate. She passed in the end of 2020, 90 years old, took like a baby aspirin. Like she was so, and this was post-stroke, performed post-stroke, like gave 2 performances. So she was amazing, but she died at 90. So we had last year, so we hadn't done, and COVID, so we hadn't traveled or, you know, that. So we went to Washington, DC, Washington, DC, in July for my birthday. Mm-hmm. And my husband had been looking at the scooters downtown, looking at them for a while when people started looking at, so we wait till we get to Washington. It's like, oh, let's go. So we scooted all over DC. And then when we came back home, we grabbed my brother and we went and scooted down Midtown and just all that. And then we did one other time too, towards downtown. So much fun, like flying. I love it.
So embracing new opportunities. That's exactly it. 2022, let's embrace new opportunities. Let's embrace change because the world is changing. You know, it's not the same. Politically, America has changed in the last 5 years, and it's not the same. You know, in terms of environment, in terms of disease, in terms of family structure and dynamics, and even entertainment. What do we consider as entertainment? Mr. Harp, you know, we talk about it all the time. The new thing, TikTok, I don't remember when TikTok came out, but you know, 5 years ago, I don't think it's like it was now or like it is now. And you have second graders who are doing TikTok dances and can't multiply. So you know, these are things that we're going to have to embrace. However, we got to remember the lessons of the past, as Dr. Angie would say, and remember that we still have to understand math. We still have to read and comprehend so that we can understand issues and understand facts. And that just because you say it didn't happen, when we all saw it on television, it happened. And so we can sit in denial if we want to. That doesn't make it any less of a real thing. Do we have any closing words on 2021 that you guys want to share?
Well, 2021 started off with craziness with this insurrection, and all year it's been a gut check. It's been that look in the mirror. Who are we? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We haven't figured it out yet. Mm-mm. Who are we? America has, in my opinion, America has been so long worried about who and what it appears to others. We are a superpower. We got to make sure we look like this, and this has been America's attitude. This has been Americans' attitude. Now we have to look at each other and say, who am I? This vaccine is making each other split, making you say, well, who am I? Am I the type of person that'll go over my mother's house and unvaccinated? Am I the type of person that'll go put a plane full of people at risk? Oh, I'm not going to answer that question, but that's the question that people have to ask themselves. People today are having to ask themselves, what am I okay with? How far can I go? How far can I really go? Didn't think I can go that far, but how far can I go now? So 2021 is a whole bunch of questions, and I hope 2022 has some answers.
Well said. Well said, Mr. Harp.
I would just say, even when it seems like it's not making a difference, two things. One is if you're not telling the truth, tell the truth, start. If you've been telling the truth, keep telling the truth. The truth is a very powerful thing. And I know people get into, well, what is the truth? Your truth might be different than my truth. There are just a few things, more than a few, that they just are. What we call daytime is light out. What we call nighttime. You were born, you weren't hatched. Some things are just true. And a lot of the, as you all know, as we've said, so much of the chaos of where we are now is because of a couple things. But one is being comfortable. This goes directly to exactly what you were saying about looking in the mirror and who are we? Comfortable with lies, twisting, going along with, well, that fits because that works for me. That's politically advantageous. That tell the truth. That's that scriptural, the truth will set you free. That's just not like a cute saying. Like, we literally needed to tell the truth to get us up out of being enslaved. And there's a whole lot of other things involved as well. But you can't get up out of being enslaved if you don't start with, we are enslaved. And we need to just, because it's the big lie and multiple little lies, there are no little lies, just lies that have contributed to the deaths, to the variants, and, America's biggest, we're also here because we've never dealt with our racial history, which is not just history, but it's today. Never. All that, that white supremacy, all that stuff, we never finished really telling the truth about it.
And we can't.
So the truth. Because if you do, it's gone. Yeah. Now folks are trying to hide it. It ain't pretty. It's not pretty. But yeah, truth. Keep telling the truth, tell the truth. Just little person by person stories. My husband and I were talking to a neighbor who was, he was uncomfortable last year about getting the shots and shitty. And he was, kind of listening to some of the, conspiracy, but a little bit. And we just listened. That's the other thing, truth and listen. Just listened and said, well, blah, blah, blah. Well, kind of came back with something. And he did go ahead and get it. And he's glad that he did. So I would say, listen and be open. Not to everything, but, listen. Be open. Because we don't know everything. And tell the truth as you know it, as best you can. Tell the truth. Even when it's hard to. It does make a difference. Even if you don't see it yet, it makes a difference. So those are two, I think, powerful things to bring with us the next year.
I think that is a perfect way to end our last podcast for 2021. Thank you both, Dr. Angela Celeste May, Mr. Eric Harp, for being on the Kim B. Davis Show. I so appreciate both of you. Mr. Harp, tell us where we can find you, how we can reach you.
I can always be reached at directly ericharp9@gmail.com. You can find me at ESQ360 on all your social platforms.
Excellent.
That's it.
Now, Dr. Angie, you have a lot going on. You have books, you have a YouTube channel, you have coaching and consulting. Tell us where we can find you. Tell us about all the things that you have going on, and tell us where we also can find you on social media.
Okay, well, social media, you can find me on all of the, the usuals, Facebook and Instagram, LinkedIn. You can find me. It's just, there's no stage name here. I always say I want my kindergarten teacher to know who I'm doing. It's Angela Celeste May. That's flat. So yeah, look, I'm on all those. Sometimes put a doctor in front of it. Dr. Angela Celeste May. That's my professional page on Facebook. And my company with my sister, counseling, consulting, and coaching, is A.M. May and Associates Incorporated. So again, we're on Instagram. AMAssociates.com is our website. Musically, you already mentioned the YouTube channel. You can find me also on reverbnation.com/Angela Celeste May for more music stuff. What else? My book is called Freedom. What is the experience of living without negative self-imposed limitations? And that's at Amazon and Ex Libris. My CDs you can find at Apple, iTunes, all that good stuff. So yeah. So you can find out what I'm doing at all those, in any or all of those places.
Did you mention your coaching group?
I did not. Thank you. That's part of AMA, my company, my sister. We do the coaching. We do private coaching. I do doctoral coaching as well, if you're working on your doctorate. We also do creative coaching because we're both professional musicians for creative professionals. So the group that you mentioned is right now we're doing a power group for women who are leaders in their lives in different ways, in their careers, different areas. We meet every other week. Every other week on Mondays. And we'll be ending it in February. So look out on all those social media platforms. We'll be advertising for the next, we're doing them in the fall and then the spring. In the spring into summer. So we'll be starting the next one probably March. And one last thing I'll mention too. I'm also doing a men's group for it's not therapy. My logo is not therapy, it's strategy. So it's stress management specifically for Black men. Mm-hmm. And we, and it's a 4-week thing, and we talk about the mental approaches, physical, although it's like strategy for dealing with, so much that's going on. And that's a group you just don't hear a lot about targeting to, give some support to. So again, all of that, go to my website or the Facebook page and find out about that.
Exactly. Wonderful. Thank you so much, guys, for coming on the Kim B. Davis Show. Thank you guys for tuning in. It's been a great year. Look for us in 2022. We're going to have some exciting shows. You know that you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, LinkedIn, everywhere on social media. And it's Kimberly Batchelor Davis. Batchelor is BATCHELOR Davis. You can see this show at youtube.com/Kimberly Batchelor Davis. You can hear this show on Apple, Spotify, Google, and Stitcher. You can find out more about me as an author at kimbdavis.com. Thank you guys for tuning in. I will see you in the new year in 2022. And always remember to be magnificent.